When the M4 Mac Mini was released, I absolutely jumped at the chance of upgrading not just my work setup, but my home setup and my team setup. So I bought 3 of them, like 1 base M4 and 2 M4 Pros. And so in this video, I wanted to give you a bit of an update. Now it's been 3 months later as to what that experience has actually been like, answer a few of your questions, and cover some of the positives, some of the issues, and also just an update on what my own desk setup looks like now that I've just had a bit of a chance to really bed the Mac Mini into my workflow. So first of all, why 3 Mac Minis? Of course, that's probably the question you're asking. Now, the first was the base M4, which I've dedicated as my home Mac Mini. Now, this was replacing my older generation M1 Mac Mini, and it's basically there to run my home automation platform, which is Home Assistant, so it stays on 24/7. It also acts as a media server for my Plex library, and so there's there to decode various file types to play on the 3 Apple TVs we have around the house. Now, I also use this Mac Mini when working from home, which is all pretty basic, like word processing, web browsing, emails, video calls, nothing strenuous. And my kids also now use it to do their homework and practice their touch typing. Now, the second was my own M4 Pro Mac Mini, which I have here, which stays in the office, and that covers all of my creative work here on YouTube. So a lot of day-to-day productivity apps, but also more intensive tasks such as Lightroom, a bit of DaVinci Resolve. I've also started playing around with using it as a live stream setup. And then the third one we have is actually the most powerful one that I bought. It's another M4 Pro, but this has upgraded memory and CPU, and this serves as a dual-purpose kind of machine, both for my videographer who shoots and edits some of these videos, but also it was intended for my remote editor to jump on remotely and just save me having to upload all of the the footage we shoot onto Google Drive. So those 3 specs were the base M4 Mac Mini at $599, my M4 Pro with upgraded 1TB SSD, and also a 10 gig Ethernet upgrade at $1699. This is a UK pounds, by the way, British pounds, not US dollars. And then my team's M4 Pro with upgraded 1TB SSD, 10 gig Ethernet, 48 gig of memory, and also the upgraded 14-core CPU, 20-core GPU, and 16-core neural engine, and that came in at $2299. So now, generally speaking, the upgrade has been overall really positive, for all of us. The smaller size and shape of the Mac Mini is kind of a bit of a nothing burger over time. It's very impressive, I'll give it that. But kind of my gaming PC that's slung under my desk, once it's there, it's just there, and you don't really, think or care about it. Now, I love how it's small enough to slot into, much smaller spaces. And I've even considered taking this in a bag, taking it with me somewhere like CES in Vegas, and kind of using it as an excuse to buy a Vision Pro. Just sit there and look like a complete plank with an M4 Pro Mac Mini on the table hooked up to a Vision Pro editing videos. But then I came to my senses and realized that would be a total waste of money. And I don't need a Vision Pro. I don't need a Vision Pro. I don't need to buy a Vision Pro. Now, the power button being underneath, again, this is a bit of a non-issue. I have pressed it maybe 5 times since owning it. Although, yeah, of course, it's not as easy as if it was on the front or the back. But again, this, it is what it is. Now, what I will say here is that depending on your use, you might struggle with the number of ports on the back of it. Now, I'm about to start working on comparing a bunch of different SSDs, and since the M4 Pro Mac Mini supports Thunderbolt 5, I've realized I need an external hub of some form to extend those Thunderbolt 5 ports. Now, so far, I've been using the CowDigit TS4 Plus, which has an SD card slot, which is useful for offloading video files, which all come on SD cards. And it also adds a ton of extra USB ports, both USB-A and USB-C, which I need to hook in all of these devices, which I'm going to go through in a minute. But the problem is, it doesn't support the latest Thunderbolt 5 speeds, which the M4 Pro Mac Mini is capable of. And by the way, that's only from the rear ports on the Mac Mini. The front ports are much, much slower. And so recently, OWC sent out their Thunderbolt 5 hubs to try out, which gives you an additional 3 Thunderbolt 5 ports. And I actually started testing out a Cassis SSD enclosure with a Samsung 990 Pro, which is like an M.2 SSD, which actually runs faster than the internal storage on the Mac Mini. But I've kind of been waiting for, CowDigit or maybe Ugreen to bring out their full-on Thunderbolt 5 all-in-one hubs, which are currently yet to be seen. I've physically seen the Ugreen one on show at CES, but still not available to buy. But that would hopefully allow me to clear up what's getting to be a pretty messy, busy desk setup right now. But for now, on top of here, I have a Insta360 Link, which is a 4K webcam for when I don't need my big camera rig, which I'll get to in just a moment. But not everyone needs a 4K, like $200 webcam, or even wants to spend, that much to get 4K with all the latest features. Now, I actually really like this from OBSBot, who kindly agreed to sponsor this video with their Tiny SE, which is almost half the price of the Insta360 Link 2. Now, the Tiny SE is a full AI-powered 2-axis PTZ webcam with features such as AI auto-tracking with auto-zoom, which can track either your hands, a specific zone, and even specific body parts. There's also gesture control, preset modes. It features a 1080p resolution, which goes up to 100 FPS, and is compatible with, all the major live streaming and online meeting services. Now, this Tiny SE camera has a feature normally seen in higher end cameras called dual native ISO, along with a 1/2.8 inch CMOS sensor with an f1.8 aperture, which basically means it can automatically adjust itself based on the lighting conditions to give you a great image quality in both, both dim and bright environments. And all of this is managed via the OBSBot Center application, so you can control everything from, the additional features like video recording, beauty mode, and switching the preset setups. And it can even control up to 4 OBSBot webcams. So if you're an online gamer or a streamer, you can run all of this via that one OBSBot application. Now, the Tiny SE retails for just $99 in the US and $129 outside of the US, and you can pick one up and use the link down below. Now, one thing I am glad that I upgraded to was to go with the 10 gig Ethernet upgrade on both of the Pro versions of the M4 Mac Minis, which just makes transferring, our sometimes hundreds of gigs worth of video files to the Synology NAS, which we have here, which has been flawless since making this change. Like, at times, it's not actually fast enough to edit directly off of the NAS, but our issue is that we currently have a remote editor, so as soon as we dump footage onto the NAS, it then uploads those clips to Google Drive and also backs them up to Synology C2 storage, at which point the NAS is then struggling to, both upload footage to Google Drive and work on the NAS and upload it to Synology storage as well. But the simple workaround for this is just to edit our video footage using smaller proxy files, which then live locally on the machines. And then when we actually render our full videos, it uses that full quality file from the NAS. So that works without consuming a huge amount of local storage space on the M4 Mac Minis. But so far, even my own lower spec, if you can call it that, my M4 Pro Mac Mini has been able to handle everything that I've thrown at it. Now, I'm not running LLMs or doing any form of really intensive workloads outside of some light video editing and audio editing, but from having a gazillion tabs open constantly whilst video editing, whilst listening to music, whilst having a video call running, whilst using an external camera connected in via my external device, and it's not even struggling, it's not slowing down. There's been literally no noticeable impact whatsoever. It's been a fantastic device so far. Now, I have had some issues with my home Mac when trying to do all of these things, whilst Home Assistant is running, because that's always consuming, I think 4 gig of memory at all times. And maybe if the kids are then watching something on Plex and I'm, sat there with all of my tabs open, then yeah, that can sometimes struggle. But I would still say for a machine that cost me £599, that is pretty damn impressive still. Even playing games on the M4 Pro Mac Mini has been a good experience, like the classic Counter-Strike 2. And did you know that Black Ops 3 is on there too? I really wasn't expecting that to be on there. Now, I know they're not the latest and greatest games, but they actually play surprisingly smoothly for a Mac. The only regret I currently have is not upgrading the storage on the base spec M4 Mac Mini, just because I didn't want to pay the absolute, undoubtedly rip-off prices that Apple charge to upgrade the storage. Now, the combination of my Home Assistant server, which runs inside of a VMware application, which then generates backup files, is already now starting to fill up, pretty much completely fill up the onboard SSD. And I just can't figure out a way to move the backup location to an external SSD, which would basically fix that problem. But I have just purchased a third-party SSD upgrade that had only just come out when I posted my last video on the M4 Mac Mini, and that costs just a fraction of what Apple charge. And it has got great reviews, but it only works for the M4 Mac Mini, not the M4 Pro models. But I have bought it anyway. I'm currently waiting for delivery. It should be here in the next few days. And I'm actually going to post a video on this channel to show the upgrade process to help others upgrade the storage in their own Mac Minis without paying those, excessively extortionate rates that Apple have always charged. Now, I do have some concerns over whether Apple will, just apply an update which then breaks third-party drives from working. So it is always worth considering that might happen. But at the same time, I'm gonna give it a try, make sure it works, make sure I keep a regular backup of my Mac Mini in case something does happen. But so far they haven't, and it's been out for a few weeks, maybe even a couple of months or so. And there's no signs as of yet that they are going to block anything. But again, who knows? That could change very, very quickly. So people have asked me a few questions, including my desk setup here too. So I want to just give you a rundown of what I've settled on for now, at least, for now until things change. So like I said, I'm running the M4 Pro Mac Mini with an upgraded 1TB storage and 10 gig Ethernet, but there's no other upgrades on here. Now, next to that, I'm actually running a Anker charging hub. Now, this isn't connected to the Mac in any way whatsoever. It just provides fast charging to any devices I happen to be using and sometimes reviewing whilst at my desk. And that is also permanently connected to this ESR 3-in-1 MagSafe charger, which also, again, charges whichever phone I'm reviewing at the time, along with my Apple Watch that has basically stayed there since now reviewing this Garmin Fenix 8. But there is also a place underneath to charge some earbuds as well. Now, on the other side of that, I'm using the OWC Thunderbolt 5 hub, like I mentioned earlier. Next to that is the CalDigit TS4, or underneath that is the CalDigit 4. And then on the right of that is the Focusrite Scarlett Solo interface, which is now connected to both my mic of choice for video calls. This is the SM7B by Shure, which sounds fantastic for video calls. It's also then hooked into my cameras when we shoot videos. And that Scarlett Solo interface is also connected to currently a pair of Edifier, I think they're MR4 speakers, or like studio monitors if you call them that, which honestly, they've sounded great for the years I've been using them for now. I'm actually in the process of, saving up for a really nice pair of KEF speakers. So I know these speakers on the desk, they're not angled properly. They should be angled up in my ears. I need to get some stands probably for them as well. But just equally, I kind of want to upgrade them, so don't want to buy stands for them. But we're going to see how that goes. And also, some of those stands will actually lift the speakers up to be behind the 57-inch Samsung G9 ultra-wide monitor that has also been on my desk for over a year. Now, I've actually been pretty happy with this screen overall, but seeing the newer generation of the LG Ultra Gear monitors, which have a much, much better resolution than what they had on last year's model, it's really making me think about maybe swapping this screen out for one of those screens, or maybe even two of those LG 45-inch Ultra Gears when they eventually do come out this year. And then actually the speakers will have, more desk space again. So yeah, I think time will tell. We're going to try out the new screen and see how that works. Now, I know this screen goes brighter than OLEDs, but for the type of work that I do and the games that I play, I just can't get past how beautiful OLED screens look, especially the newest generation screens as well. So I'm definitely going to play around when that comes out. Underneath that, and on my desk, I also have the 8M Mini Pro sat here. Now, this thing allows me to hook in my professional camera. It's a Sony FX3, which is just insanely expensive for what it is. And if I want to do a podcast or an interview or even a video call where I just want to have the absolute best picture quality possible, then I can use this to connect my camera into my 8M Mini Pro, which then connects into my Mac Mini. I've also been using Riverside FM as a way to record my Aspiring Creator podcast, which I kind of just put on hold for now, just while some changes are happening. But it is a solid 4-way HDMI switcher that also lets you stream to various online services too. Now, the desk. The desk itself is something I didn't want, I didn't need, but I'm totally converted. What I wanted was a monitor arm that could take the weight of this 57-inch Samsung G9. I was really struggled to find something that could take the weight without it slouching and limping over essentially. And I saw that Secret Lab had just launched one, so I got in touch with them. I asked if I can get one for a review, and they sent me an arm, which is incredible. It works really well. They also sent another arm, which I'm using to hold up my laptop behind me. But they also sent me this entire desk setup. And this isn't sponsored by them in any way, other than the fact they sent me $2,000 worth of stuff about 12 months ago. But it has been incredible. From the way they package everything that's very reminiscent of unboxing an Apple product, to the way they use magnets to keep various parts of the desk looking neat and tidy, to simple things like the fact the sit-stand controls are built into the desk and have an off switch so you don't accidentally bump into them and trigger them, which sounds really silly, but happens all the time on all the other desks we have in the studio here. The desktop, the shelves themselves as well, are also finished in metal, which means you can use their clever little cable management magnets to secure various cables around the desk. And even my favorite magnetic phone cases stick to the desk so it doesn't accidentally get knocked off. So just those So many things, and even smaller things like the integrated power column. So you plug the desk in at the bottom, and then it runs up the inside legs through to the cable management tray. There's also a snap-on Ethernet version 2 to hardwire my Mac. There's a magnetic LED strip that's designed for the desk also. And also a magnetic headphone holder as well, which just snaps on to the desk. It's just such a cleverly, well-designed product. And honestly, I absolutely love it. Anything with magnets, I'm always sold on it. Now, I've actually asked them if we can get like a white version so we can have like a light mode, dark mode kind of set here for shooting videos. But at least for now, that is everything on my desk setup. So if you need help deciding which Mac Mini to buy, then do check out my video on the buyer's guide up here. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, bye-bye.